1. Here we go. Alright, welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner, Classic Less Known Classic. This episode number 3297 and Doubleshot number 3191. First, we're going to start with we're kind of a new series review. Technically, I've reviewed one issue for the series already when it was collected in a trade paperback for Suicide Squad. We have Captain Atom. This is DC's Captain Atom. Yes, this was the character created by Steve Ditko. Now, of course, basically, it is implied, based on the flashbacks in here, that his Charlton adventures are canon to this version of Captain Atom. Now, of course, this issue is the debut of the more familiar Captain Atom. The one wears silver, with the red middle, red gloves, red boots. Yeah, this issue is the debut of that. So, basically, in this opening issue here, not only debut of the rebooted version of Captain Atom, we also debut one other major character who is heavily featured in the series, and also a recurring villain in the Just Saying Unlimited cartoon, voiced by J.K. Simmons, General Wade Eiling, who years later became the General. Where basically he transported his brain into the body of the Shaggy Man. Well, one of the Shaggy Man, one of the old Just Like villains. So, the creative team for the first 9 issues of this book is just, you have, on the writing duty of Cary Bates, who created this version of Captain Atom, along with Pat Broderick. I met Pat Broderick, cool guy. Now, Cary Bates himself, I think he had just come off. And by the way, the guy is surprisingly still alive. Yes, he is. I think at the time when he did this book, let's see. I think he just finished up his run Action Comics. And I think he was also the writer of The Flash. You're thinking, really? Yeah, he'd been the regular writer of the book since issue 179. He basically did it for a long time. Oh my gosh. He did it up until... He may have skipped a couple issues here and there, but he did it up until issue 350. So yeah, he basically had already finished his run for... I think the previous book that was released with him as the writing duty of the book was Action Comics, which he'd been writing the book since issue 354. For this book in particular, Cary Bates himself, in case you're wondering, did he write all the issues of this book? Well, no, he did not. He wrote to issue 50 of this book. The first issue also debuts a brand new character. A character by the name of Dr. Magala. We also debut in this issue of Captain Atom's family. His wife Angela, his son Randall, and his daughter Peggy, real name Margaret. So, he is coerced to participate in an experiment because he has been framed for treason. This becomes a big plot thread. And years later, one of his kids actually does investigate the treason. And one of the kids doesn't care because he thinks that his father was absent from his life. Well, in the case of his daughter, well, she thinks otherwise. Oh, she thinks otherwise when it comes to this. So, he does his experiment, and then he disappears for 18 years. And he wakes up present day. Now, the public thinks that he's dead. By the way, the only reason I know that his Charlton Adventures are canon because they do reference his costumes he wore from the Charlton era. You have to read the book basically to understand what I'm meaning. So, then he wakes up, and they think he's some creature. Despite thinking he's a human being in the silver suit that he wears. And he looks at, and he sees Wade Eiling, he's like, General, you've gotten old. Yeah, and he does ask about his family. He mentioned that that after apparently after he died, he married, yes, he married Captain Atom's wife and raised his 2 children. And he won't say at this point where Angela is. It's not. He kind of drags him like, show me where Angela is. And that's when he finds out that his wife is actually dead. And the thing is, on the grave, it has written on it, Angela Eiling, wife of Wade Eiling. And that kind of makes that makes Adam basically very mad at him. And I had read this book like several years ago, and I forgot how really good the writing is for this book. Oh my gosh, this book is so good. So then throughout this book, basically, he tries to get, like, of course, also in issue 2, he ends up saving President Ronald Reagan from plastique, which the cover image of the paper does not do anything really good, by punching a woman clearly in the face. And she returns issue 8, where she starts falling for him, despite the fact he's clearly older than she is. And this results in something that you're like, what? Yes, I'll get back to that when I talk about the end of the series, mind you. This time, anyways. So, and then, of course, he meets up with his daughter, Peggy, who goes by Margaret. And the thing is, he calls her Peggy. And when he first sees her, like, oh my gosh, she's a spit image of her mother. And tells him, like, at one point she gets kidnapped, and Wade Eiling tries to interfere with Adam looking for his daughter, but basically Adam had to threaten him physically to let him handle it, and he does. And then he mentions to her later on that, well, he actually is her father, and like, oh yeah, you're the cat that I met at the airport. And he's like, I first met you back in 1963. Well, basically, I'm going to let you in my arms. You're like, oh my gosh, my father. And she hugs him, and they kind of reconcile. Not the case of his son, Randall. Yeah, she actually investigates the treason. At one point, she throws papers at his face because he's being a complete dick. Because he's like, oh, he wasn't there for us, basically, because Wade Eiling is our real father. And she's like, no. This man is our biological father. Wade Eiling is our stepfather. Just because he wasn't there does not mean he was our father. That's basically her argument there. And they have a contest agreement about a lot of the book about this. So then throughout these issues, he basically goes on a series of missions. He does one point resign from the military. Issue 2, yes, he does fight Plastic, obviously, who does return issue 8 of the series. And document he's actually in charge of the cabin project. So there's a lot of like military stuff happening here. At one point he does disappear, but he later is found by, and he attempts basically to, and then by issue 5 we have the return of his old enemy, Dr. Spectro. Well, technically this first post-crisis appearance of the character. And if you're really curious, did Captain Adam fight him in the original Charlton comics? He did. Yeah. So the one that appeared in this book here, yeah, so pretty much in the way, this is basically, I'm guessing this is probably Carrie Bates' idea to bring in this character. Also, Captain gets a fight with Firestorm in this book. Yep, picking up right after basically the Firestorm 5th annual. So basically, from his perspective, that's basically where this book leaves off. And of course, they would have a rematch in post Flashpoint. Then he continues to fight Dr. Spectro for the next several issues. In case you're curious, so how long was he in the book for? As a villain fighting Captain Atom. After 2 issues, he would lead the book and then come back to issue 15. So after fighting him for a couple issues, then by issue 7, he's fighting someone called the Cambodian. Now, unlike Dr. Spectro, he is not a reintroduction of a classic character. He's an original villain. And it was in these couple issues here when they bring in Plastic back. Back into the picture. We also have a guy called Babylon. Apparently his real name is Robert Long. He is completely unrelated to Donna Troy's son. Yep, and after these couple issues, meet up with him. And then issue number 9 basically explains what really happened, what causes the whole thing being tried for supposedly for treason. And 10, of course, basically doesn't feature Captain Atom at all. Nope, he's completely absent. It focuses on the Doctor who helped give him his powers. This issue in particular is noteworthy for Greg Weisman joining the writing duties of this book. Yeah, Cary Bates basically was the sole writer of the book for the first 9 issues. And then when issue 10, basically, he becomes, he takes on co-writer with Greg Weisman. Now, you might be asking, was he writing their book? Is that the reason why he had to take on a co-writer? Like, what was he working on some other magical book that he just had to bring a co-writer because he's probably busy with other stuff? Well, he would write New Guardians. And also write a book called, let's see, Silver Blade. Yeah, he would write this book here. He wrote a few different books, but it's almost like, why would he take on another? Well, why would he probably took on another book, or probably because Greg Weisman probably was asked to come in to take over to do some co-writing duties with, of course. Now, there's nothing really new issues in issue 10. Aside from that, I could focus on somebody else. Now we do lead to issue 11, which is a tie into Millennium. This is set during week 4 Millennium. Chronologically, they say this is the earliest chronicles up Captain Atom, and it's from week 4. It actually is after Action Comics 596. And there's a character in here named Harold Henley, who appeared in books issue 1. He turns out he was part of the Manhunters. Now, here's something really weird, though. Unlike other books which had tie-ins for, unlike some of these other books about Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, unlike some of these titles which had tie-ins to Millennium, half these titles got canceled with this story, like Booster Gold, Blue Beetle. They got canceled with this. But not Captain Atom. Nope. Captain Atom basically was only tied for 1 issue, then he's back doing his own thing. It managed to last for another 46 issues before finally being canceled. And they did the whole thing of hunting for the Manhunters, and we also have an appearance here by Firestorm in this book. Yep. Now issue 12 is another noteworthy issue for the book. You know how basically issue 1 is noteworthy for being the debut of the rebooted Captain Atom and General Eiling and Dr. Medea? Well, issue number 12 is the debut of a very controversial villain in DC Comics. A guy who basically in the 90s decided to kill a woman and stuff her body in her refrigerator. Yes, issue 12 is the debut of Major Force. It was sort of a rival project to Captain Atom, and it seemed like at first basically that the story be, oh, they're allies. Kind of. And the story continued in the first ever annual for Captain Atom. Yes, where they are fighting each other, and then of course he throws back into the, cuts all ties, he resigns to the military, and throughout these next few issues for 13-15, he tries his best to try to live a normal life outside of the military. But Wade's like, you're buried now, dude. Yeah, there's also a flashback in here to flash appearance by Enemy Ace, which is weird. You're thinking, wait, Enemy Ace, a World War I fighter pilot, appears in Cap Nana for a single issue? Yes, as a flashback. I thought it was really weird seeing this. And then by issue 14, we're basically introduced to another. Well, basically, he gets reunited with, of course, Eve Eden, aka Nightshade. Except that this is interesting. Unlike in the case of Dr. Spectre, who was a original character, which Steve Lee did create in the Catnap series, Nightshade was a creation of his too, obviously, but Cary Bates didn't bring her back in. He just basically had them, he reunited him with Nightshade because they were partners in the Charlton comics. So for these 2 issues, he has him with his old pre-crisis partner, Nightshade. There was also a hint these fact these two may have had a relationship at one point, but it didn't go anywhere. Oh, in case you're curious though, who was the one who brought her back into post-crisis continuity? This might surprise you. This was John Elswinner's idea. Yeah, he basically dug up this old character. Yeah, one of two known Steve Ditko characters he just shoved in the Suicide Squad, the other being Shade the Changing Man, the original one, not the Pierre Mulligan one. And Nightshade became heavily associated with Suicide Squad, appearing from issue 1, and she appeared up into the final issue of the first volume. So of course she would appear in Captain Netta. This of course was probably Cary Bates' idea, of course. They're back here for a couple issues. They have a quick team up. And then by issue 15, basically, where he is defeated by Major Force, and, well, actually I think I may have read issue 14, but yeah, these issues are amazing. Such amazing issues. And I give the Captain of the first 14 issues, along with the first annual, a 10 out of 10. Because these issues are amazing. Next up we have is a trade paperback, which I don't have the cover for this one here. It is for Power of Shazam, Volume 2. Yep, which collects issues 13 to 23, the annual, Man of Tomorrow, Superman of Tomorrow number 7, Showcase 96 number 7, I think it was. It's called The Worm Turns. Plus, it also collects Superboy Plus number 1 and Supergirl Plus number 1. The Supergirl Plus number 1, discussed already, not going to discuss it here. Same thing with Showcase 96 and obviously Superman of Tomorrow and number 4. This is more of stuff related to Power of Shazam. And throughout these issues, basically, now there's no appearance at this point by Black Adam. Nope, it's basically issue 13. It's the first appearance of post-crisis appearance. Well, first full appearance of Mr. Mind, a old arch enemy of Captain at Marvel. Yep, and he becomes a recurring villain in this book. By issue 18, he's taken out, but comes back a little bit later. And they're here. He's working here with Ebenezer Batson, who is Captain Marvel's uncle, the one who cheated him out of his inheritance because he was jealous of money. Yeah. So we basically deal with the cover, the amazing cover of this book is still done by the awesome Jerry Ordway. Issue 14 is a standalone issue for Captain Marvel Jr. We do have a debut of a character named Chain Lightning, who is she like a post-Flashpoint creation? Well, she technically did appear in the original Fawcett comics, and she was in Mary Marvel, who only appeared in that continuity once, but it was published by DC. Yeah, she only appeared once. Yeah, one time. And I guess that, well, I guess Jerry Ordway is like, hey, let's bring in this one-shot villain. Because she did fight the Shazam family, why not? She did return in issue 19, but appears several times afterwards. And this Shazam family just sole appearance for Captain Marvel Jr. And then by issue 15, basically you have Captain Marvel going to space, doing Mr. Mind. We also first appear in issue 15 of Magnificent Savannah. Dr. Savannah's says his handsome son. Now, the question you might be asking is he a post-crisis character? Original character? Nope. He did appear in the original continuity. Well, he appeared a handful of times. He appeared a little bit in the Power of Shazam comic book. By issue 17, they wrap up that story. It's him basically in space, where basically you have held back by, of course, Dr. Savannah is in the issue himself. We also, the death of Aziz and Worms, they kill someone here. And there's a cameo here by the JLI. And by issue number 18, yeah, and Billy Batts' cousin becomes Sin. He actually got killed off in issue 12, but he apparently came back after dying. Despite being dead, he was actually in mind control for a little while. Into issue 18. '19, of course, is the return of Black Adam. On the cover, anyways, so that he's not in the book. We do see return of Captain Nazi. Yep, who at one point who actually appears in the Superboy Plus one-shot with Captain Marvel Jr. Yeah, he appears there. Think, really? Yeah, he does. It's Superboy Plus Power of Shazam one-shot, where he teams up with a villain of he basically is also Knockout there. Silver Sword. Yes, he teams up basically with Silver Sword, though it's a hallucination, but basically it's the one debut of a character named Mind's Eye, who is a character who only appeared once in that one shot. By the way, the one shot itself is not written by Jerry, it was written by Ron Martz, the guy who was writing Superboy at that point in time. Yep. Cap Nazi is, well, a character from Fawcett Comics. They briefly reintroduced it in the pages of Action Comics. I think it was in the Shazam feature. Yeah, in the Shazam feature they briefly introduced it. This is more of a more proper introduction of the character. Well, in this book anyways. So and then we have a Final Night story where Captain Marvel teams up with Superman for this Final Night tie-in. And 21 teams with Plastic Man. We get the apparent death of Muscles McGinnis. But he comes back in issue 33. Yeah. And then by issue 22, he teams up with Batman to take on St. Clair Batson, who's under control of Miss Minerva, who is just a original character of this book. So I was like, wow, post issue 20, it's like become a team-up book. And then with issue number 23, basically, he teams up with, well, he takes on a guy called Mr. Atom, a robot. Now, is he original character, or is he, well, a character first introduced in Pre-Crisis? Well, the answer to the question, yes, he is a character from Pre-Crisis. And this book here was his reintroduction. First appearance here of this issue of Dory Amberson. Yes, the book itself also contains the annual. I should point out though, the sole annual this book put out. And it's a legendary third book, and it's this is one of those rare times where the regular writer of the series writes the book's sole annual. It's basically, it focuses on a character called Thunder, C.C. Beck, which I'm sure this character was named after the original creator of Captain Marvel, C.C. Beck. Yep. And she does return after this. Yes. Yeah, they put her over in Legion of Superheroes for some reason, yes. So, I thought that was really cool. But we're doing like additional 8 issues here. First, talk about issue 24. Yeah, Captain Marvel also, these issues start sporting a brand new costume. Yes. And also, Captain Marvel Jr., he later becomes like, he starts wearing Billy's old costume for some weird reason. And we also appearance in issue number 24, where they heal him with Spy Smasher. Classic character he is. Yeah, though he is a character who was first introduced in Wiz Comics, they just brought him in because, well, he's a classic World War II character. And take on Baron Blitzkrieg, who is not a classic character. Oh no! Excuse me. Now, he only appears in Power of Shazam for this one issue. He never returns over again, but it was nice that they threw in Spy Smasher. Then we have times are changing. This is the cover we have Captain Marvel's brand new costume. As for the reason why he basically debuted a new costume here, I don't know. But yeah, that's his new costume from this point forward. And of course, Freddie Freeman sports basically the previous Captain Marvel costume. Oh, this is a alternate timeline that debuts in this issue. We're in this alternate timeline, basically, where C.C. Benson, where the Bensons became Captain Marvel for a single issue. Yeah, it's a reality altering thing. Yeah. Then by issue number 26, we continue the whole alternate timeline thing where the parents of Captain Marvel are in fact Captain Marvel. And then the storyline wraps up at 27 when they die once again. With issue 28, of course, Mary, of course, is no longer wearing red, she's wearing white. And we have debut here of Professor Bobowski. And his brother is Bilbo Bobowski. Yep, brother of longtime Superman supporting character. Now, he is original. He is not... Well, we do have the final appearance of Petty Petty Bang Bang. Yeah, this was her second and final appearance in comics. Yeah, this duo of robbers they decided to have appear here. For 29, of course, we have the rabbit appear. Happy, the Marvel Bunny. Yep, this would be his first post-Crisis appearance. Yes. And yeah, he is definitely a character from the Fawcett continuity. Debuting in Fawcett's Funny Animals #1. It is interesting though, they debuted this character here and then he appears like in issue 29 and then appearing also in Ambush Bug Year None. And that was it for him. Yeah. It's like, oh, let's throw in another classic Captain Marvel character. And then to 30, we basically have a Flashpoint guy called Mr. Finish, which was his debut appearance, by the way, who appears also in the very next issue, and that's it for him. 31 is basically a tie-in to Genesis. Yes, Genesis, where he gets involved with that event. 32 basically involves them taking out that. It still deals with some after. It basically debuts the character of Windshear. Now, she is a character from the Fawcett continuity, who was the original Bullet Man. Well, daughter of the original. Yeah, she is the daughter of the original Bullet Man, who actually is from the continuity. Yes. Yeah, she makes her debut here. She is the original character, but her parents aren't. And that's it. Overall, really good set of issues. And I give this stuff here a 10 out of 10. Okay, so that's pretty much it for a particular video. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications. I'm going to do G-Bond next. Okay? Thanks, you. Bye.